Hello and welcome to official Strongman News. And once again, I'm your host Chris Bland, and we'll be going over everything that's happened in the last 7 days of Strongman, and more importantly, what's coming up in the very near future. As I said last week, we're going to be covering what's happening in the Arnolds. Athletes have been released, as has the events. So we'll be covering that, as well as the same thing for Giants Live Britain's Strongest Man, which is coming up on January the 30th. If you haven't got tickets to that, they're all sold out now, I'm afraid. But we will be live streaming, doing some form of that on the day, so you can get that. Keep an eye out for it. I'm not sure what's going to be the crack with that yet, but we'll let you know as soon as we do. And it's definitely going to be worth a watch. I think we've got might be in my head this, so don't hold me to it. But I believe we've got Kazmaier coming down as well to do the commentary. And any of you that saw Europe's Strongest Man, he put on one hell of a show, and his Kazmaier, he always does a good job, doesn't he? So no worries there. So we'll start off with the Arnolds. They've released all of the events now. Brian Shaw's YouTube channel covered the last one, which is the bale tote, similar to a super yoke but heavy as hell. I imagine that's going back up to that same little ramp, or it might just be across the stage, not 100% sure. But anyway, that's event 5. We'll get to that in time. So they've not released all of the weights for these events to the general public. I'm sure they have done to the athletes, but event 1 is going to be the big, I think it's a Slater log, big wooden thing, hitting that for reps. Always an exciting event, especially with guys like Big Z in the lineup. Always going to be very, very interesting to see what happens there. Gone to the lineup in a second, same thing. Arnold's obviously is very keen on keeping the same events year after year, with a slight twist here and there. So no surprise seeing the Sear dumbbell, I think that's how you say it, basically the Thomas Inch dumbbell, just thrown out there. No surprise seeing that being thrown back in again. Same weight, 274 pounds, made by Rogue. Yeah. Timber carry, this one's always very, very exciting. Basically a giant frame carry. How much is it? 1,100 pounds. Huge, huge thing. Up a ramp, but difference being to a typical frame carry, guys can use straps, which always makes it a lot more interesting. Takes that grip element out, which after having a go on that Sear dumbbell beforehand, the guys' grips are going to be fried. So always very grateful for that change, I'm sure. Deadlift, this is the one that is the big change. Normally it's a Hummer bar deadlift. This time it's a little bit different. Well, very, very different. It's going to be completely off the floor. So most of the time I spend is going on the YouTube channels explaining the different, well, on our YouTube channel explaining the difference between Big Z's record and Eddie Hall's. So this is an opportunity for them all to do it off the floor. Major difference being though, to a standard deadlift, this is going to be on a specially made Rogue bar, which is ginormous by the looks of it. A lot longer than a typical bar. Imagine as well it'll have a lot of flex in it, similar to the Hummer deadlift bar, so be a little bit different to your typical off the floor deadlift pull. It's difficult to see until obviously you see the guys do it on the day, how much difference that'll make, but I'm very interested to find out, I'll tell you that. I think as well, I heard rumours of, and I can't tell you who, mainly because I can't remember, but some big companies sponsoring that, which very exciting for Strongman whenever a mainstream brand covers anything that we're doing. And then, yeah, final event is the they call it the bale tote. Basically, big hay bale super yoke thing, which I personally think looks cool as hell. I a lot of time for that event. Going very, very heavy as they always like to do. I think the heaviest it's been is about 1,500 pounds, and I'm sure that we'll be seeing about the same thing this year. Just super heavy, and the guy's covering, I think it's about 16 feet the course. It's not very long, but it's heavy as hell. It's always nice actually with the Arnolds, like World's Strongest Man, even it's usually a bit more of a fast pace. It's over so many days, and it's just exhausting for the guys, which creates a very different style of competition. Still protesting their strength to the absolute max, but it's a different type of strength, and it's pushing the guys in different ways. Other guys obviously excel in certain events. The Arnolds are always very heavy, so it's always interesting just to see who does well in that, where it's all the events are over short distances and just heavy as hell. So, moving on to the official invites, or the unofficial, I'm not 100% sure, it's one or the other. Brian Shaw, obviously, first choice there. He's the one that's been announcing all of this stuff on his YouTube channel. Sadrunas Savickas, he's going to be there. Again, very, very strong. Don't need to explain who he is to you guys. But the next one's someone I'm very excited about and hope does compete, and that's Vitajas Lalas. I think he's won the Arnolds before. He's come, was it second or third in World's Strongest Man? Hugely strong guy. We had him on Officially Strong a little bit ago, and his biceps significantly larger than my head or anyone else's head. It's about the same width as my waist. Guy's absolute monster. Had a lot of back pain, but he's starting to come back really strong. I think he put a video up not that long ago of him with a 350 squat, something like that, wearing Giants Pro gear. Dirty, dirty plug there. Talking of Giants Pro, next guy is Eddie Hall. Again, someone that needs absolutely no introduction. Very, very strong. Be interesting to see what he pulls on a longer bar. Obviously easier on the deadlift, easier to deadlift, sorry. So we should see some silly weights going up with that. Should be really exciting to see. Next up, again, someone that can deadlift very well, but it's just an overall absolute freak of an athlete, Hathor Bjornsson. We're talking quite a lot, actually. We'll get to the Island competition that I was at this weekend. But we're talking there about Thor just ginormous. It's difficult to quite comprehend how big he is. There was a guy at the Island comp that was, what, is he 6'11"? And even he didn't look as big as Thor. I don't know what it is about him. Terrifying. Anyway, I'm going to absolutely butcher this guy's name, but Matthias Kliskowski. Mate, I'm sorry. I know that's not how you say your name. That's dreadful. But really, really strong Polish guy. I believe he came second the Arnolds last year. Really strong. Definitely one to watch out for in the future. And one who will definitely be winning events very, very shortly. Very strong guy. Jerry Pritchett, again, doesn't need much to be said. Fantastic deadlifter. Strong presser too. Always interesting to see what he pulls out of the bag. Dimitar Savatinov. I love this guy so much. Ex-Circus Strongman. But more importantly, probably one of the best pressers there is out there. So when you've got that for the log press and on the circus dumbbell, like, I don't think there's anyone out there that's better than him on a circus dumbbell at the moment. And someone I don't know anything about, actually, is the, not a final guy, but last year's 2015 Arnold amateur winner, Alexander Liskiero. Again, sorry mate, that's terrible. But he's from Russia. Obviously, that step up from the amateurs to the pro league is very, very interesting and steep, we should say. But it'll be fantastic to see how he does, and I'm sure it'll be a great learning curve for him anyway, and hopefully he can turn some heads. And with the final one being released at a later date for that 10th spot. From the Arnolds, we also have the guys that are going to be competing at Britain's Strongest Man has been released. Not all of them, similar to the Arnolds, still got a few places left. Well, that we're keeping close to our chest. But the ones that we have got available to you now is, first off, Mark Jeans, someone I'm very excited to see. Welsh guy, hugely strong, and a phenomenal stone lifter. He's got a record on the Chrisiev, it's a natural stone. Trying to say these names is just making me look foolish today, I'm afraid. But really strong guy, natural stone lifter, phenomenal, and he's been looking really strong lately. Definitely have a look at some of the stuff he's been doing. Really exciting guy. Second person that's second guy, we've got John Kelly, who qualified this weekend at the Island Qualifier, where we were doing our live stream. Hope you guys are watching it. It was really, really exciting, actually. We'll get to that actually in the end. A lot to talk about with that. Eddie Hall, no more needs to be said about that. We've got Rob Frampton. Again, fantastic guy. Going to be very interesting to see how he does. I don't believe I saw him compete last year at all, except for in the log at Britain's Strongest Man where he was last year. This time we will be competing in the whole thing. So we've got that, and then moving on, we've got Terry Hollands making his return. He returned at Europe's Strongest Man last year, but made a massive comeback, and he's been looking so strong in training. Can't wait to see what he does at this comp. Been looking phenomenal, especially car walk. I think he hit at that for 12 seconds. Yeah, crazy form, which if you don't know, if any of you were at Europe's Strongest Man last year, it's the same car walk, and most of the guys couldn't even finish the course, and the ones that did weren't getting anywhere near 12 seconds. That's phenomenally fast. Next up, we have Lawrence Charlet. Again, was out injured last year. Well, unlike Terry, who was retired. But Lawrence was out injured last year, but my word, is he coming back on some terrifyingly good form. Did a powerlifting meet earlier this year. Well, last year. Set the British squat record. He did a Viking press with 200 kilos. Crazy numbers being thrown around. Next up, we've got Luke Stoltman, who's been out in Korea for past couple of months. Looking very strong, but most of his training footage has been coming from random Korean gyms. Always interesting to see, and most of it's just people looking on in absolute awe in the background, but always a very fit competitor, always very exciting to see, and he just is getting stronger and stronger each year. Also, don't think it'll be too long before we start seeing his brother competing at these as well, which is equally exciting. Next guy is Adam Bishop. Really strong. Had a bit of a rough showing at Giants Live in Sweden, but was really good form the year before at Britain's Strongest Man, and the same thing at the Sweden Strongman before. This one was just unfortunate. Hit his head. Did he fall? Something else. I can't remember, I'm afraid, off the top of my head. But he just had a really unfortunate show, and it was just a bad day for him, really. But I'm sure he'll be coming back on very good form. Seen a video of him training car deadlift with like 19 guys piled on top of a tyre. Definitely looks like he's coming back on form. As I mentioned earlier, Johnny Kelly qualified for this competition for Britain's Strongest Man through Giants Live Qualifier at Ireland's Strongest Man, which was the first time official strongman's had sort of a bit of a hand in qualifying guys. Very exciting for us. We were very pleased with that. Especially as it was a great competition. We had a lot of injuries running up to it. A lot of two guys had to drop out injured on the day, which is a real shame. Dale Winters, I think he tore his bicep, and Ewan Harmuth guy looked ill. He'd been in hospital throwing up, I think he was throwing up blood beforehand. Turned up and he did not look comfortable. Managed to pull a 360 deadlift, but couldn't wear a suit because it was making him feel so sick. And he did the medley and was like, no, I just can't. But the rest of the guys Ewan put on a huge performance with that. It was just unfortunate he couldn't finish off the day. He was having a really strong showing. But Johnny Kelly was pretty dominant throughout. Paro Dwyer, hopefully said your name right this time. If any of you are listening to the commentary, apparently, well, I know we butchered it. We did a dreadful job on your name, mate. I'm sorry. But he did come over and show us how to pronounce it and put on a great show. So it was a bit of a tie-up between those two guys, Paro Dwyer and Johnny Kelly. But John came out on top and really deserved it. He was super fast on all of the moving stuff. Struggled a little on the log, but it was understandable after having to hold out that 25 kilo sword for so long. Talking of that, if you go over to our Official Strongman Facebook page, you'll see Chris McNathan holding out this sword, and he put so much into it, so much. He's holding it for as long as he can. I don't think he even won the event, which was the worst thing, but he'd gone up second and drops the sword and then just collapses. He had another unfortunate showing, similar to Adam Bishop. After that, he clipped himself in the chin with a 100 kilo stone, cut that open, and then couldn't keep going with the stones because they were getting too slippy from the blood coming from his chin. Very unfortunate. Fortunately, strapped himself up, and I think he's looking alright from what I've heard. So not to worry there. On official Strongman news of what's been happening on the site, we've seen a huge upturn in activity, which is fantastic. Guys, keep posting your videos, keep updating, commenting, all that jazz. Mainly to do with the fact that it was released on the World's Strongest Man website that we've got the official titles now. So we own pretty much all the World's Strongest Man titles. Under 90, under 80, under 70, under 105, obviously the open weight. And the same with the women's and the masters, which is fantastic news. So we're going to be putting on competitions for all of those this year, 2016, going on all across the country. I'm not sure if I'm meant to tell you where they are and when they're going to be, so I won't do to avoid myself getting in trouble, but that'll be coming to you probably next week. Very exciting news. And if you guys do want to qualify to compete in any of those competitions, definitely get yourself on the site and upload some videos. Definitely worth it, guys. 100%. It's going to be amazing. I'm still hoping that the under 80s is going to be my calling. We shall see. Moving on from that, before I shame myself, I think I've already been talking for far too long, but probably the best one to show you is we've had Duncan Reith put it up today, third in the under 105s category, which is becoming one of our most competitive categories, putting 125 kilos above his head in the log press. Well, don't know what was coming out of my mouth there. Well worth the watch. Fantastic lift. So guys, Duncan, take it away, mate. It was a huge lift, and definitely one to watch out for. The under 105s is becoming one of the most competitive categories. That and the under 90s, it's just crazy the level these guys are pulling. I think someone entered, and I'm going to forget who it was. Oh, Shane Bowen entered the under 90s with was it a 310 deadlift, and it got him 7th place. When 7th place is 310 in the under 90s, you know you got something special going on, and these categories are getting so hot and so contented. I can't wait. Anyway, guys, I've waffled far too long. That's all I've got to say this week, and I'll see you next week. Bye.